I recently got round to finally playing and finishing the divisive Days Gone, and it's way better than I expected. Days Gone is an open world zombie— No, don't click off the video, please. When I first heard about this game and saw the trailers at release, it looked interesting, but I had no intention of buying it at the time, especially since it was only on the PS4, which I never played at the time. We'll fast forward 2 years and it's officially released on PC. I bought it immediately, jumped in, and played for about an hour or two recording for one of my Ultrawide showcase videos, then I stopped playing for over a year. I finally booted the game back up and went to town finishing the game from start to finish. Now we know I love my environments above all else, and the world of this game looks fantastic. Taking place primarily in the forest and dirt highways of a post-apocalyptic Oregon, the game somehow felt like a rather unique setting. The world itself isn't exactly bustling with NPCs and things to do and discover, other than looting scrap, but that's why they provide you with one of the most enjoyable modes of transport I've experienced in a game. A customizable motorcycle, which you can upgrade parts to make it faster and more durable, colour it in, and just develop a bond with this bike that will accompany you throughout the entire game. So since it's such a big factor, let's talk about the bike for a bit. The bike can eat up a chunk of your time, as you'll have to keep an eye on its fuel gauge and health, as if you drive too far or crash into too many objects, these gauges will deplete, possibly leaving you stranded and having to scavenge for parts to repair the bike or fuel to fill the bike up. Although this doesn't happen often if you keep an eye on your bike and surroundings, when it does, it can make for some very tense moments, sneaking around hordes of zombies to get to that fuel, or fighting off bandits to scavenge a nearby car for parts. You'll learn to only use the accelerator when going up hills or chasing something, then letting the bike just coast down hills to preserve fuel. The bike can both be refueled and repaired at the major camps or settlements in the game using credits. Once you get a bit further in the game, it just becomes second nature to repair and refuel anytime you enter a camp, meaning you often won't run out for a while. You can even fast travel between certain points using the bike, but it will use a chunk of your fuel to do so. Altogether, this motorcycle will help you get to and from your destinations with 10 times more ease than running, and you'll feel utterly lost and helpless without it. You play as Deacon St. John, a bikie from before the world went to shit. You'll start the game with your best mate Boozer, who is a bikie alongside you. You'll be holed up in a watchtower atop a mountain as your home base. Deacon is actually such a funny and likeable character, despite giving off the opposite demeanour at first, and I was always looking forward to some of the jokes he would make, or his reactions to something crazy happening.
This morning, they go back inside and what, hibernate?
You mean you never went down there to see?
No.
Oh, goddamn freaks. What the hell are you doing in here? Huh?
Pretty soon though, you'll be heading off into the ship by yourself, and it more or less stays that way for the rest of the game. Let's talk possibly the biggest draw and selling point of this game, and also the most terrifying, that being the zombie hordes. These zombie hordes are seen and encountered incredibly early in the game, and consist of possibly hundreds of zombies who stay together in a large group, either roaming around or sleeping. From the first time you encounter a horde, you'll basically vow to yourself to never go near one on foot, and the game itself will specifically say you should aim to avoid them. Especially with how much of a threat a handful of zombies can sometimes cause, going near a horde this early was never going to be a good idea. But as the game progresses, you become more and more adventurous, sometimes watching them from afar, other times riding your bike past them to watch them all turn and begin chasing you. Thank God they're slower than the bike. One of the best interactions I had with a horde was luring one into an enemy bandit camp and letting them tear apart the entire base, before wandering off, and I popped in at the end to claim the glory. Without spoilers, towards the end of the game, it is expected as part of the main story that you'll end up completely eliminating a total of around 3 or 4 massive hordes. Personally, I hated these missions, as it usually just involved training them around like the old COD Zombies days, throwing a few Molotovs or grenades and firing off a few shots, then repeating for what felt like hours. But before these mandatory missions, the hordes were my favourite and most exciting part of the open world for me. There are also a handful of zombie animals such as crows, wolves and bears that will fuck you up if you're not careful. The wolves can actually run as fast as your bike, making it terrifying when one just sprints up beside you while you're driving at max speed. These add a little variety to the standard zombies, as well as the addition of big tank zombies and screamer type zombies that will draw others towards your location. Now I actually got relatively into the story, which surprised me. Now it's not a masterpiece, but it felt relatively engaging and had me waiting for the next story moment or cutscene to see exactly where it was going and what was going to happen. A bit over halfway through the game, you'll travel to a new area down south, which introduces new characters, camps, and settlements. I'll be honest, this second area felt a lot less interesting and quite lackluster compared to the first, and I found myself kind of just hamming my way through story missions to get it done. I experienced a handful of glitches, including catching on fire, then never being able to put myself out for the rest of existence, despite my health no longer dropping. Deacon was just perpetually on fire. I had to reload a save to fix this. Then I had a mission where an enemy glitched behind a wall in a relatively linear area, meaning I couldn't get to him again, and I had to reload a save. These aren't massive issues and were by no means game breaking, but thank God the game has a decent autosave. I finished the game with about 49 hours put into it, which is a decent chunk into a game that I wasn't expecting to be all that special. Despite the second half of the game falling off for me a little bit, I honestly think this game is actually really fun and worth a play, if you're at all craving a bit of zombies or open world apocalyptic fun. If you've already played the game, I'd love to hear it in the comments what you thought, and if this video makes you decide to give it a go, please come back to this video and let me know how it went. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this relatively short talk about a game that is better than I expected, and peace out.
Forward feeding ground right in our way.